The 35th Annual African World Festival will take over the grounds of the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History on the weekend of August 18th. The family-friendly event attracts 150,000 people for 3 days of food, music, arts and crafts, poetry, African drumming, and dance. Here to tell us more is Charles Farrell. He is the VP of Public Programs at the Wright Museum, along with Njia Kai. She is the director of the festival. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
35 years. That is a remarkable achievement. Talk about how this got started and what we will see in year 35.
Well, there were initiatives here in the city to create festivals representing the various ethnic groups throughout the city, and there was a group that came together to pull together the African American Festival. And
now, when I was a kid, this was at Hart Plaza, correct? When did it move over to the museum?
Yeah, we moved. This will be our 6th festival
Okay.
on the grounds of the Wright Museum, and the move was made for a lot of different considerations, but I'm really happy that it happened because it causes people now to really visit the museum while they're visiting the festival. And to come to know who is actually producing this event. Downtown, we took a survey one time, and they even thought I was the producer. So it was good to align the festival directly with the museum.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about over the years how the festival's changed, how it's grown quite a bit from what I can remember.
Well, you know, we work real hard now to really create a cultural arts extravaganza, to really tie the festival and its content into the mission and operations and focus of the museum.
Of the Wright, yeah.
For instance, this year, the museum, along with many of the institutions in the Cultural Center, are focused on Detroit 1967 and those reflections. And so the theme of the festival this year is Soul Revolution. Reflecting on that theme and also on the consistent work of the festival to really put a positive face on people of African descent in our community, to show our history and to show our current achievements.
Yeah. When we say African world, obviously we're talking about African Americans, but we're also talking about Africa, and we're talking about that connection, that deep historical and cultural connection that exists between people here and there. I feel like I feel like this is a sort of interesting moment to be talking about those connections for any number of reasons. But talk about the sort of currency of that in the culture right now.
Well, you know, there are many of us, and certainly the mentors and role models I grew up under, who have taken on the notion that we are part of the African world, not associated with it, and not, you know, mildly sitting aside it, but we see ourselves as part of that world and have worked really hard over the last 100 years or more to make direct connection with the peoples and the cultures of the African continent. And so this is an opportunity, and I'm really proud of the museum because they could have created the African American Festival, and they did not. They chose to take a worldview and to really use the facilities of the museum, its resources and its interests to develop an event that has such a broad view and then makes the content so rich and the possibilities of the content even richer.
Yeah, yeah. Charles, you manage the Children's Village part of the festival. Talk about what that is.
Correct. It's Watoto Village, which is the Children's Village, and it's really funded by the Knight Foundation. We do an annual book fair. This is actually our 5th year of focusing on literacy and providing free books, perhaps 500 to 700 books. We give out free raffles and school supplies to support the youth in the community, but we also have a broad program of artists from age 5 up to the mid-20s who will be performing various aspects of the culture, in addition to having authors of children's books. So it's really focused on literacy and showcasing the excellent youth and their creativity. It's a very important program. I want to say that Dr. Charles Wright, when he started the museum in 1965, the name was the International Afro-American Museum, IM. So the fact that we are connected to Africa, and that's very important, perhaps is our most important program, in terms of centering the community around the importance of their history and their culture and making that connection to the great civilizations of Africa, which really defeats and undermines the whole concept of white supremacy. So it's a very important, broad program that's extremely rich throughout all the streets shut down and perhaps 120 vendors. So that's really what we're asking the whole community to come out and to celebrate our history very broadly.
One of the things that I think is interesting about this year and the festival is the opening of the African American History Museum in Washington, which is itself a milestone. Talk about this moment where we do seem to be looking a little more, I guess, introspectively at sort of who we are and where we come from.
Oh, sure. In fact, we have, I just want to point something that's distinguished this year is our exhibition, which is in a commemoration of the 1967 rebellion called Say It Loud, Art, History, and Rebellion, has exhibition in two of our galleries, the AT&T and Chase Gallery. But we also have an external component of 10 panels outside on the grounds that the visitors to the African World Festival will be able to visit. We actually have another program kicking off on the 17th about reparations, focused on the birthday, actually, of Marcus Garvey, which was the largest, as you know, black mass organization in our history, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And that program is being featured with Don Rojas from the Caribbean, actually from Jamaica, heading up CARICOM, the organization in the Caribbean calling for reparations, and Hazel Robinson, who will be speaking about our global historical journeys, where the museum will be traveling to St. Kitts, our first venture to travel, to connect the African diaspora to the Charles Wright Museum.
Right. Okay, well, 35 years is a big deal, so congratulations on that. And of course, the festival is free, correct?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that in this 35-year period, the festival administration has, I should say the museum administration has insisted upon maintaining this as a free admission event. It is next weekend, and it's 11 to 11 each day, 12 hours packed with culture and fun and food and something for everyone. We have an area of the festival for all ages.
For everybody.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for being here.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. For more information about our guests, visit AmericanBlackJournal.org. And as always, you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.